Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and I'm just going to show you how to change out this old style light here for a newer, more contemporary looking style. So we've already turned the breaker off at the fuse panel to kill the power. To remove this light, should just be a couple screws, and then we'll be able to find out what kind of wiring mess we might have up there. So the cover comes down, and actually this box doesn't have a whole lot in it, so we're pretty good. So you should find, in most cases you're going to find that you've got a, especially in these older ones, you're going to have the black wire and a white wire, and they're going to be moretted to something else. Ideally we'd like to see a ground in here. There's a ground to the box, but there's nothing actually grounding to the light, so we'll have to add a piece of ground wire in there. But I can undo these and get this out of the way. They've done that a little different. Let me just cut that right off. They've kind of folded the braided wire right into the copper wire, so it'll just be easier to cut it off, I think. This one will be all right. Okay, so we've got the old stuff out of the way. Okay, so we got that old one off. Now we're going to open up this new one and see what we've got in here. So we've got our instructions, a few tiny little morettes that are usually useless, and we've got our main base for our light, and we'll have a globe down below there. So what we need to start with is we need the hardware to mount the light to that box. I did also, and I'll show you when I go up there, I did add in a ground wire connected to the other grounds. The reason on an older light that you usually won't find a ground coming down anywhere is because they didn't have they'd never used to ground the lights at all. So there'll be usually, hopefully, ground wires in the box at least that you can continue the ground circuit with. So first thing we're going to start out with is this little doodad, and generally there's some screws to go with it, but there isn't on this one, so I should be able to reuse those old ones that are up there. So we'll go back up. So I'll just reuse these two screws. So I've got a bracket here that just basically mounts to where these screws go. And here's the ground that I added in. I'll bring these down where we can get at them. Get these screws all started. So remember, make sure you have the power turned off, not just the switch off. Now they do have I don't know if you can see it right here, there's a little wee screw, and it's marked as a ground beside it. Sometimes it'll be green. So they have it kind of set up that with these screws, like what I'm tightening up right now, attaching through the metal bracket, or through the metal box and through the metal bracket, you're basically creating that connection to the box, which is grounded. So a lot of times they say, just put the ground wire from the light under that. I prefer to bring an actual ground wire down and hook it right to the light ground itself, just to be sure we have no issues. Okay, now just taking this nut off. This shaft right here, this long threaded shaft, is going to pop through that housing of the light, and then we'll tighten that nut back on there. That's what will hold it all up there. One thing I find is that usually this thing is sticking out way too far, especially for the type of nut they sent. So I usually back off that nut so that this can still turn in if it needs to. So we've got over here, we've got the base and we've got the wiring right here. Now this one has 3 sockets on it. They've brought all the wiring up under or above the light base, threaded the 3s together, and just left a single lead, which is fine. Sometimes they won't be done that way. In that case, we probably can use these morettes, since we only have the one wire and the copper wire up top. There's usually about 3/8 of an inch of wire stripped on these braided wires on the light, and I find it usually isn't quite enough. So I usually take another 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. Just wind those loose wires all together so they kind of form one solid wire. And I can take this up there and attach all that. So we'll hook the ground up first. So I've got the ground wire here coming from the light. And we can just get that attached right on there with the moret. So it's good and solid. I've got the neutral. There isn't a lot extra. Oh, I'm going to need because there's 3 neutrals here in the existing box, I'll need a different moret, so I'll do the black one here. Get it all on there. Hang there while I grab this other moret. What I was going to say is the neutrals are actually pretty short here, so I can't really pull it down to get it connected. I'm going to have to take this one right up to where they are. Hopefully it doesn't, I can see what I'm kind of doing there. Let's start in there. Just not wanting to really twist on there. This is not really at the angle I want. That's better. Okay, so we got those all attached. Now I'm just going to push them up in there a little bit, and then I can kind of move this this pan up there to get that shaft right through. As long as I move these out of the way, you can see by the thickness of the pan here, there's some room for that. They don't have to necessarily be right in the box. And I also like to keep them away from that flat bar that we put on there, just so that over time it doesn't rub through or something and short out. So, well, this one is long enough, so turn that out a little bit more. And just probe around until we get it to come through there. Really close. Come on, where are you? There it is right there. Okay, so you can just see I've got a few threads. Well, you probably can't see, that socket's likely in the way. You can see there's just a few threads here sticking through. It doesn't take very many to get the nut on there. Just tighten that right up there. I don't know why the tinfoil stuff here is so loose on this light. So just tighten that up there so it's holding the light up nice against the ceiling. And we'll stick some bulbs in. This lamp is rated for, we can have a maximum of 60 watt bulbs in it, 3 of them. And we are putting incandescents in. You could have fluorescents or maybe even LEDs if you found the right ones. Okay, so we've got those bulbs in. The shade itself, packed. I'm going to put the shade on, and then we'll turn the breaker back on and make sure everything's working correctly. Now on this style here, one of these little brackets is spring loaded. And it's the one back by me. So the shade itself will hook into the two solid brackets, like so. And then I just simply pull the spring-loaded one out until it goes around the lens, and it will hold that lens up there. I'm just going to pop down and turn the breaker on, and we'll make sure everything works. Okay, so we've turned the power back on, and just pan up to the light. Let's see what happens. There. So I can look inside, and I can see I've got 3 bulbs working, so looks like everything's good there. The odd time you might get a socket that's not working properly or something, or even a light bulb that's just not working. So, but looks like everything's good here. So hopefully you like that video, and you can have some variation depending on the light you're taking down and the style of light you're putting back up, but that's just the basics of wiring in a new light. Hopefully you liked it. If you want to go to our website at house-improvements.com, you can check out our other articles there, and you can also find our forum there. So if you have any questions about this project or any other project you've seen or you're maybe working on, just post it up in the proper category on the forum, and I'll be sure to get you an answer. And other than that, if you want to just check out the rest of our YouTube channel, that'd be great. You'll find we have lots of videos there, and if you like them, give them the thumbs up.